So, Jonathan Fraser being missing. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two things, combine them, make them into one. And I'm a Discovery influencer. Yes, that's indeed a fact. It's not a play on words. I'm a Discovery influencer. So, Jonathan Fraser, born May 11th, 1995. He was last seen on July 30th, 2016 at the address of 6233 KOK Place. That's in Honolulu, Hawaii. The 31st of July back in 2016 is when his family reported him missing. And the following month, on the 18th of August back in 2016, Fraser's vehicle was found by investigators. That vehicle being a Honda hatchback, a two-door, and the license plate on the vehicle was and is listed as SXC021. Where could Jonathan be at his age? Dear viewers, leave a comment in the comment section. Have you heard of Jonathan Fraser? So Fraser's Honda, when it was found, was parked near the intersection of Kuli'o'o Road and Summer Street. That's in fact where it was found. Intersection. In Hawaii Kai. Since Fraser's disappearance, no one has seen or heard from him. At his age, it is questionable where he could in fact be at his age, because to know people at his age oftentimes disappeared. They disappear willingly, right? If he did willingly disappear, some people might feel abduction was at play, right? But say if he did, where would he go at his age? Being in Hawaii, where's to go? So I'm gonna get to his body measurements in a little bit. Let me save that because I want to ask a few questions pertaining to some things. So, questions. When it comes to his mother, now he disappeared, right? And yet his mother feels that he could have been murdered. That's questionable. So in his mother thinking and sensing that, you know, they say mother's intuition is everything, as in mothers usually know first, right? If a mother has a gut instinct that her son has been murdered, is to ask the question, who would want Jonathan dead and why? Who would specifically want him dead and why? What could have occurred so bad? What could have happened in this young Mill's life for somebody to off him? Let me go in further. Jonathan disappeared months after he and his friend Caleb were in a car crash. Jonathan disappeared months after he and his friend Caleb were in a car crash. That crash killed Caleb, his best friend. Caleb died from injuries involved the crash. The crash, in fact, he died later. The crash was a head-on collision. And police records show that Caleb was the driver before the crash occurred, during the time that it occurred, right? Yet it stands questionable if Jonathan was indeed the driver. It's because, see, yeah. And this too is why Jonathan's disappearance stands in question. Because, see, if police records show that Caleb was the driver, right? Police records show that Caleb was the driver, and yet it's in question if he really was the driver, right? There's all type of ways for even investigators to even find out on who really did drive, right? What his friend died, Jonathan's friend died, Caleb. That's to ask, why would he leave? There's more to the situation. It's been stated that Caleb's father filed a lawsuit against Jonathan. The story is about Jonathan. Jonathan's best friend, Caleb, died, and then Caleb's father files a lawsuit against Jonathan, which almost points in the direction, once again, that Jonathan was the driver and not the one that died, Caleb, his best friend, right? That makes you to question the disappearance even more. I said that like twice. Who would want to murder him if he did? Because see, I keep going back to that, what his mother said, her feeling that he was murdered, Jonathan. What could be obtained in murdering Jonathan? As in, what could a person gain in murdering him, being as young as he was and is, if he's even dead or alive, right? Because in order to kill Jonathan, someone would have had to follow him. I'm thinking his car was parked. His Honda that I spoke on, was in fact, when it was found, if somebody, say, would have murdered him, they would have had to follow him and know of his whereabouts on the day he went missing. As in, hold on, because I was trying to figure that out. If your car is found somewhere, that's the question, why was the car there to begin with, right? He would have had to get into someone's car for them to take him somewhere to kill him, right? There's traffic in that. Possibly someone seen him and yet no one's seen him. There's been no sightings or nothing else, right? Could he have met up with someone and maybe that's why his car was parked where it was found? Could that be? Could someone have followed him? Could they have tried to get him into their car? Because the point in what the mom is saying with murderers, you got to put that part to try to see, right? Either Jonathan met up with someone around that area, which led to his car being found where it was, or maybe he had someone follow him and he left his car to make it all appear as if he disappeared. You got to point A from point A to point B to point Z is to say, well, his car was there. Why was the car there? Did he ride with somebody else? Did he go with somebody else? I don't think he will be lured by somebody else at that age. There's a definite reason for that car to be parked at that intersection like it was and left there, as well as him disappearing. So once again, did he meet up with somebody? Did he have somebody follow him? Could that be a possibility? Dear viewers, leave a comment in the comment section. Did he have somebody follow him? Was that a setup to make it appear as if he disappeared? If he wanted to disappear? To make it seem like somebody took him or something, right? Or maybe he was killed in that. Would someone randomly offer Jonathan a ride despite him having a car himself? Did you hear that, dear viewers? Let me repeat that. Would someone randomly offer Jonathan a ride despite him having his own car himself, that car that was found? Would somebody just come up off the spot, like they say Johnny on the spot? Would somebody just come up here out of nowhere and say, here, let me offer you a ride, and kidnap you or abduct you, right? Despite you having your own car? That's where it's off. The playing field. He had his own car, and yet if somebody were to kill him, as I say, they would have had to take him somewhere or something, right? I question his associates, as in, who were they, and who were his associates, as in his friends? Could a friend of his and Caleb, the one that died, right, in the car crash, Could a friend of theirs say have been mad or upset about them losing Caleb in that car crash? Could that other friend have wanted Jonathan dead, or say wanted to kill Jonathan themselves, feeling that Jonathan was responsible for Caleb's death in the car crash? Could any one of their friends held any animosity? Because to know that Caleb's father took out a lawsuit on Jonathan, that's like strike one. Yes, animosity, right? A bitterness. I'm thinking and I'm guessing, because usually lawsuits in fact involve that sort of thing. If a child of a parent dies, that's to say a lawsuit will follow in that, right? But there's usually emotional ties in that too, which is also fuming. Fuming at the lips, anger, outburst or something, knowing that your child has died and yet the other person survived, right? And so I was trying to figure out, could there have been friends in this? Multiple friends were say there could have possibly been a lure, a friendship, even if it involved Caleb's family members. Does that make sense? I'm gonna get to that. Cause I'm saying, if Jonathan is dead, say he was killed, murdered like his mom said, if a friendship, some other friend, because the share friends and all the rest have more friends, and then your best friend died, right? It's to say somebody else is going to be highly upset with you in friendship. I said that for like the second or third time, right? Enough for them to want to kill you. So could someone in Caleb's family, that's Caleb who died, right? Could someone in Caleb's family have hired a hitman of some sort to kill Jonathan over Caleb's death? Could someone in somebody's family on some end have hired a hitman to kill Jonathan over Caleb's death? And that points back to the lawsuit placed on Jonathan over Caleb's death. That's not saying that the family had anything to do with it. I'm just in question, right? You're gonna question that sort of thing, despite who gets mad in the gas, right? As in, the bitterness had to be there on Caleb's and his family's end, right? Animosity, I'm able to see that. Them being upset at Jonathan. Their loved one died, right? Was there ever any bitterness? Because that's just odd that somebody just disappeared in the way that he did, right? After the car crash. Could someone have, or did someone ride in the car with Jonathan, maybe had him walk somewhere with them, and then maybe they killed him? Did you get that? That's question number 3. Could someone have, or did someone ride in the car with Jonathan, maybe had him walk somewhere with them, and then possibly they killed him, and maybe that person had someone pick them up after the person committed the crime? So to have Jonathan get in the car with them, or they ride in the car with Jonathan, is to say they're going to ride silently with that sort of thing, as in they might have an intention to kill him, but Jonathan maybe didn't see that was coming, right? And then that maybe they walked somewhere or something, and maybe the individual killed him and left him somewhere. So in asking that, that's to ask, so where would Jonathan's body be if so? If that was a possibility, where would his body be at if somebody did that sort of thing? Let me question Jonathan's emotional state. To lose a best friend in death, and that best friend's family felt you were responsible for your best friend's death by ways of a car crash, the way Caleb died, is to say that even Jonathan had to have felt some form of guilt, even if he weren't guilty, as not completely responsible. Remember, accidents happen. all type of accidents can happen at any time of the day. That doesn't fully make you completely responsible, unless say you were on drugs or speeding or on alcohol or something like that, right? It's not like he purposely killed Caleb in the car, right? Sometimes family can be less forgiving when their loved one has died, right? So once again, Jonathan's emotional state to lose a best friend in death, and your best friend's family feeling you are responsible for your best friend's death the way Caleb died, is to say that even Jonathan had to have felt some form of guilt in that, even if he wasn't really guilty, right? Some people don't know how to deal with situations like that, such as losing a very close friend, as family blames you. And it was your best friend of all people. So some people don't know how to deal with that sort of thing. Some people have been known to not only get on drugs in situations like that, but some people have been known too to take their own lives, because I know that that stuff weighs heavy on the conscience. It's to say it's going to play over and over. The car crash, remember you were involved in it, so you're going to have flashbacks of the car crash. Caleb, you never know if they were both conscious during the car crash. You never know who was in pain. Caleb might have been suffering. Jonathan might have heard him. He might have been screaming and crying. You don't know what was going on in even the crash scene itself, as in who said what in the car. There's pain and agony in that, because to know that Caleb died is to say he must have suffered a lot in the car crash, right? That plays heavy on a person's mind once they're in a car like that, right? Once it's over and their friend has died. So that's two things that weighs heavy on a person's mind emotionally. It starts to trigger emotions. The flashbacks. People that have been through tragic things, in fact, have flashbacks, and sometimes people, in fact, encounter issues of PTSD. You never know if Jonathan banged his head. Sometimes that can result in change of personality, right? Some people have been known to walk away. Their personality has been altered based off of them banging their head either against the steering wheel or somewhere on the car. Because if Caleb died the way he did, is to say that the crash being head on had to be somewhat life-threatening to even Jonathan. Never know if there was a personality change in that might have came months later. Has anybody ever considered that? Dear viewers, people, they do get on drugs. People encounter PTSD when situations like that occur. Losing a loved one as well as the car crash, right? You never know what type of physical pain he felt, right? So despite Jonathan's family thinking someone else killed him, could there be possibility of suicide? That has to be questioned as well. Despite Jonathan's family thinking someone else killed him, maybe he could have taken his own life because of the grief being so heavy, weighing on him emotionally. The grief, the loss of a best friend, and I mentioned that, right? Sometimes people have to consider other options. As in, if a person goes missing and all that went down and all that was at play, your best friend's family, your best friend that died, the family, they don't like you. They hit you with a lawsuit, right? That can make people, I said that, turn to even suicide. That we don't even know. Or maybe he's still alive, right? But I like to look at other options as well. Maybe he's still alive and hiding away and running away from what all occurred. Not everyone grieves the same. And yeah, some people get shook up because it asks, when it comes to how many years they were indeed best friends, like for how long. That's to say that's a brotherly kinship. If you can build a brotherly kinship Some people have been knowing each other for 6 or 7 months and feel like they've been knowing each other all their lives. But say if these two individuals have been knowing each other for a very, very long time, that's to say they're almost going to become one with the other. Not like lovers or nothing like that, no. Soul spirit connection, as in it gets really deep on the friendship, right? That's like losing a part of you. For some people, when they lose a best friend, that's almost like losing a body part. Because you share secrets and you share everything else. You might have a girlfriend or love mate that you conversate. Best friends often share a lot of things together. Sometimes everything, right? And so to lose somebody is to say even he might have been shook up with that, not knowing how to deal with his feelings with that, right? So hopefully Jonathan hasn't turned to drugs to escape the pain, if he is alive somewhere out there. There are those who don't always want to be found once they disappear or go missing, right? There are, in fact, those that don't always want to be found for whatever reason, as life itself is hard enough, right? For most people, and to sit a friend's death on top of that adds more heartache with it. Because if he's alive, it's to say, well, how many times a day he questioned himself and guilt, even if he's not guilty, even if he wasn't really fully at fault, that's still for him to question. That's still, for him to question with even that himself. People feel guilty for all type of things, right? Why would anyone that young disappeared? I asked that in the opening. But why would they not stay in contact with family and loved ones? Why would he want to stay in contact with them? Where would he go if he's still alive? To be in Hawaii is a ask. Would he travel between states? Let me see. If Jonathan doesn't return back home, the only thing I can think of is maybe he wanted to move on. Maybe he wanted to start a new life, to forget about the troubles that involved him losing Caleb in that crash, right? His friendship could never be replaced. Maybe he left for that reason, if he's still alive. If he wasn't killed in anger or by ways of payback from someone. Maybe he's, because I was thinking, if he fails to return and say he's still alive, maybe he wanted to start a new chapter in his life, right? To forget about all that occurred, that car crash, and losing his best friend. Because once again, to be friends with somebody and say they were friends for years is to say there's complete memories in that. And yet once a friend is taken, as to say all memories are destroyed. Does that make sense, dear viewers? Leave a comment in the comment section. If my best friend dies like that and we shared a lot of things, as to say memories are gone. Some people even perceive their future not the same. As in, life stops for some people once their best friend is gone. They will never see life the same. They won't even see the direction of life the same. Some people go into a black hole, and I said that. Depression and all the rest. When my best friend is gone, it feels like life is like over. Because there's in fact people, there's family members and all the rest that they just feel like they can't live without that other person. Even the husbands and wives, when one loses, the other goes through deep, dark depression, that dark hole, pit of sorrow, they call it, where you can't come out, right? People disappear in that, and some of them go start a whole different new chapter in life to get over it, because you can't bring the person back, you can't bring the memories, as in there will be no new memories, right? So what do you have? There's people that just feel like all they have is themselves, right? And that might in fact be his situation if he's alive. gathering, if a person disappeared, they might want to, I think sometimes people don't always have the full intention of disappearing fully, if that makes sense. When it comes to situations like this, I think sometimes missing persons leave, not all, a percentage leave and never return, because sometimes they leave to gather their thoughts, right? Leave to gather their thoughts when stuff like this happen, traumatizing things, right? And they might in fact consider going back, but depending on where they might moved on and started a new life, is to say that that new life might have in fact become much more better and well off than where they was. Sometimes people feel like they can't go back. Does that or does that not make sense? Dear viewers, leave a comment in the comment section about that. Because even people that when you outgrow, even life is about seasons, right? I have a season, here's a season. Even TV shows has seasons, right? Episodes and all the rest. Is to say this situation has happened and it was bad, it was traumatizing, right? And it's over, right? So that's to say that a person's going to have to move on and outgrow that situation, right? Some people will try to get rid of it as soon as it happens, the devastation, right? To put it out of their mind. Out of sight, out of mind, it's over. I want to not deal with it anymore, right? It's to go somewhere else and form a new identity, right? But what if in some of these situations, before a person consider forming a new identity, what if they say go off somewhere and leave from the present situation and say, I just want to gather my thoughts. But then once they go wherever they go, they don't turn around and go back because that new place now feels better. Everything is out of sight, out of mind. They don't really have to think. Or maybe they do, because even conscious play. Conscious, you're conscious. Sociopaths usually don't have a conscious, right? But that's not him. But I'm just bringing that up for example. Could that have been one of these situations? Not everybody. I don't think everybody that leaves considered being gone forever, as in permanently. I think sometimes they say, well, let me go clear my thoughts, let me go clear my heads, and I'm gonna go back a year or 2 years from now. I'm gonna go in hiding or hide out 2 years from now, then I'll go back home. But depending on where they go, as I say, they might in fact end up being much more well off than where they was in devastation. And that might in fact lead to them never returning back for many missing persons. Consider that, dear viewers. Yeah, I don't know if this could have been one of those cases, right? You never know what life is going to present you with and how you're able to deal with that as it happens, the situations, right? So, body measurements. Let me say this. If you know anything about this situation, Jonathan, why am I saying Caleb? May he rest in peace, his soul rest with that. Jonathan Fraser, contact FBI if you or anyone knows anything. So his body measurements are listed as, he was male, of course, his height 5'7", weight 150 pounds. He was white and American. When it comes to the scars on his body, he has 4 large scars on his face, 1 below his left eye, and 1 under his nose, and 2 on his chin. His hair color and texture, his hair was brown, it's shoulder length, and it's wavy. It's indeed wavy, right? And he was born in Hawaii. Yeah, because you want to consider all that, what I said, the leaving and shaping new identities with that. Walking away from family, loved ones, and never returning, right? That's the question. Could any of the family members have been mad about anything, car crash or anything? People don't like you to ask those sort of questions, but even they lack logic and reasoning, because to know that a person just walks away from their family is to say you gotta question even his family members. How did they feel about that car crash? Was there any angry dispute between them? Could they have questioned him about the car crash enough to even make him upset like Caleb's family did? That's just common sense. That's pure logic and sense, right? That will make anybody want to run away if they feel like everybody is against them on all sides. That's how two people become missing, as in disappear. That doesn't always include murder. Some people run away and hide or wherever else if they feel like even their family doesn't support them, pertaining to even when there's a deadly car crash, right? Some parents have been known to get frustrated with their kids if somebody dies, and then the parent is screaming and fussing at the child despite the child not being guilty all like that. The friend just died. But with the parent sometimes getting upset knowing that there's a lawsuit being placed on the child, or has been, is to make even a parent frustrated, not only at the other family members on the end where the other child has died. Yeah, parents have been known to get mad at their kids with that sort of thing. You don't know what the support level was or is, right? So I'll leave that one alone. So we're on investigationdiscovery.com. The ID logo stands in the far left corner. It's right there. Scrolling down. Episodes. New episodes. Why am I all over the place? I can't see. I feel blinded. New episodes. To gain access to this is to provide who you're subscribed with. And click right there. Unlock episodes. To receive an audio visual preview is to click the play button. You would in fact receive that sight and sound. There's episodes. Recommended for you. Shouts out to Lieutenant Joe Kenda as well as Paula. ID Go original series. There's all type of chapters with even that. Crime Feed News. Yes, the Crime Feed News. To gain access to the Crime Feed is a click right within here. You will be directed to the outside. Yes, to crimefeed.com. Full of latest, greatest, the murder and the mayhem with that. To receive a Discovery... Why am I about to say Discovery Channel? Because it'd be everywhere. To receive a newsletter from Investigation Discovery is to type your email address in and click next. That's because Discovery owns everything. That's indeed why. Discovery Inc., Discovery Education, Discovery Channel, Investigation Discovery. That's why the mix-up is on and off cue. So I'm going to leave off for now, dear viewers. Enjoy your day, and I will in fact enjoy mine. And I'm gone.